It's a lie in modern Christianity that perpetrates this idea that you are enough. Now, to make sure that you understand that this brutal honesty that I'm giving you today is not one-sided, I am also not enough. Does that make we're on the same level here, okay? I want to tell you today, you are the tiny, small, little, inadequate vial of oil in this widow's hands. That's what you are. That's what I am. That's what all of us are. We're inadequate. We are insufficient. We do not have enough within us to make us really worth all that much. And I'm not saying today that we have no worth, because we do have worth. That small vial of oil was still worth something. It wasn't worth enough to keep her 2 sons out of slavery. It wasn't enough to take the creditor out of her story. It wasn't enough to give her hope for her situation. It wasn't enough to save her family. It wasn't enough to do so many things. But the small vial of oil still had worth. You still have worth. Just in this story and in life, what we see is it's not enough. You're not enough. God does allow more than you can bear alone. And He does it to remind you that you are a small vial of oil. 2 Corinthians 1:8. In the modern English version it says, For we would not, brothers, have you ignorant of our troubles which came to us in Asia. We were pressured beyond measure, above strength, so that we despaired even of life. In the English Standard Version it says, For we do not want you to be unaware, brothers, of the affliction we experienced in Asia, for we were so utterly burdened beyond our strength that we despaired of life itself. Despaired literally means to be without hope or to be hopeless. So when he says that we despaired of life itself, it means we had no hope in life. It means our life was hopeless. Our situation was hopeless. There was not a tomorrow. When it says that we were under such a heavy burden, it was far beyond our ability to endure. That's why, to stay scriptural, I don't say that God is putting way too much on you. I say that He will put more on you than what you can do alone. In the story with the widow, we find her just as we find Paul in the New Testament. There's too much on her. She cannot endure. She has no hope. She has no hope in her family. She has no hope in her money. She has no hope in her home. She has no hope in life. There is nothing in this story that says the widow had a sparkle or an inkling of anything that she could actually say, maybe tomorrow. The vial of oil is not enough. It's not enough to save her children. It's not enough to hold her life together. It's not enough to ease the great burden. This woman has nothing. So she goes to the prophet. And the prophet says, what do you have? And she says, this tiny, I'm going to paraphrase, this tiny, small, insignificant, little vial of oil. Prophet, help me. You know my family. You know what we've done. You know what we've served. You know where we've been. Help me. I only have this little vial of oil. He says, send your sons out, go collect vessels, go to your neighbors, get any vessel you can, any pot, any pan, whatever you can find, whatever they will let you borrow, whatever they will let you have, take it. Take their seconds and their thirds and their fourths and their fifths, everything that's got burns in the bottom of it and can't be used anymore, everything that's cracked and everything that's wrong, take all of them. If it's warped at the bottom, that's okay. You just need something to hold some stuff, because God's going to make a situation happen in your life. He's going to make a way in your life. He's saying, go and borrow all these vessels. You're in this situation that is far beyond you to be able to handle. You're beyond your depth. You cannot produce a miracle, but God can produce a miracle, and He will see to your situation. Go borrow every vessel you can find and take that little vial of oil and shut the door behind you and your sons and start pouring. And as they got all these vessels, they went in the house and they shut the door, and she started pouring this little tiny, insignificant little vial of oil. And remember, you're a tiny, insignificant little vial of oil. She's just pouring this little vial of oil until it fills up the first pot. And then the first part starts overflowing into the second pot. And the second pot overflows into the third pot. And the vial of oil definitely should have been done, but it went into a fourth pot, and into a fifth, and a sixth, and a seventh, and an eighth. Until she looks at her son and says, son, open the door and go borrow another vessel. And he says, there's none left. Bring me another vessel. There's none left. This is all of them. I can only assume he got everybody's throw-offs from the entire little village. This tiny little insignificant little ball of oil in the hand of this woman who was stressed and burdened and underneath a weight that she could not bear, with no hope for tomorrow, filled every pot. And it says in the scripture that once the last pot was full, the oil ceased flowing. And then she went and she told the man of God. And he said, go sell the oil and pay your debt. And then you and your children live on the rest. Now, if I can do this for you. If you're still there in 2 Corinthians, I want you to read 1:9. We read 1:8, where Paul says, I don't want you to be ignorant, brothers. In Asia, we were under a burden we couldn't bear, under a weight we couldn't get to tomorrow, and we had no hope in life. Verse 1:9. Verse 1:9. Indeed, we felt we had received the sentence of death. But this happened that we might not rely on ourselves, but on God who raises the dead. Now this is scripture. This is truth. There's many people in America right now that are telling you that you are enough and that everything's great and dandy. And don't worry, because God's constantly got you and you're never going to have to go through anything. But the real Bible, what it actually says is that no, you're going to get through some stuff, but it's because God is going to walk with you through some stuff while you are being taught not to rely on yourself, but to rely on Him. You're gonna have some trials that go way beyond your ability, that go way beyond your ability to continue to pursue or persevere or endure, that go way beyond your ability to get to your tomorrow. But what it says is you don't walk alone. You don't walk alone. See, I can't bear anything, but I can bear all things through Christ. I cannot do anything, but it is in my inadequacy, it is in my insufficiency that God shows up and fills the gap from where I am to where He is. The vial of oil is not enough. It's not enough to save children. It's not enough to hold lives together. It's not enough to handle a great burden. You are small and insignificant. You cannot change people, let alone the world. You are fighting an unbearable task that will surely overtake you if you are alone. You are under a weight far heavier than you can bear. But the oil filled the pots. And Paul said, indeed, we felt and received the sentence of death, but this happened that we might not rely on ourselves, but on God who raises the dead. Even if I die underneath this burden, God raises me back. He wins anyway. He wins anyway. You're not enough, but God is. You'll never be enough, but God will forever be enough. You will never be strong enough to get through your trials, but God walks with you. You'll never be able to fight hard enough, but our God is a mighty warrior. You are a small vial of oil in the hands of a widow facing hopelessness, but God can make you flow out and fill the pots.